Welcome, new and old friends. My name is 242, and today, 42 got us one story. But she got many other narrators to help us bring them to life. So, turn off your lights, make sure your doors and windows are locked. Things are about to get spooky. When I was a child, I was very interested when my father taught me how to break down animals for meat. Though, to this day, I still get bored as soon as they stop screaming. I Don't Know What's Happening Anymore by Cole Blaze K. I grew up in a small town where nothing really ever happened. It was a nice, quiet place, low crime, about 900 people, and on the edge of a beautiful forest. At least it was nice until a couple months ago. It started when a kid went missing after school. He'd gotten off his bus, and that was the last anyone saw of him. Of course, a huge investigation occurred and rumors were being spread, but nothing really ever came of it. The rumor mill was big, though. You see, even when I was a kid, there was a rumor about something that would take people into the woods and eat them. Parents used to say it to scare their kids into coming home early, so I didn't really believe in it. Although it was said that anytime something like that happened, a horrific scream would come from the forest. But I never heard it. At least, not until after that kid went missing. I was walking downtown when a screeching noise came from the forest, almost like an old broken tornado siren screeching out its last life. I looked around to see if anyone else could hear it, but no one else was around. Almost like the town was empty. Then, when the sound ended, people were exiting stores and acting as though nothing happened. Although, one person came up to me and said,
"You heard that, right? You have to tell me you heard that."
I did. What was that?
It was the scream of someone who became lost.
Became lost? What do you mean they became lost?
Can't talk anymore. They're watching. Don't trust anyone. You have to get out of here.
And with that, the man ran into a nearby alley, disappearing out of sight.
Who was that?
I heard coming from behind me. I turned to see Chris, one of the town's police officers, and a good friend.
I don't know. I haven't seen him before.
Well, it's a small town. If I see him again, I'll be sure to give him a talking.
You do that, Chris. I gotta go though. Nice seeing you.
With that, I was off and continued my normal day-to-day monotonous life. That was until more missing people signs kept popping up. You see, it's one thing when one sign comes up every once in a while, but it's another when 13 have gone missing the last 3 months. Something was wrong, and I was determined to figure it out. After the 7th sign popped up, that's when I decided to give Chris a visit at the station, but he was nowhere to be seen. The clerk told me that he went on vacation, but that didn't seem right. Chris was someone who loved his job and loved working. In the last 10 years I've lived here, he only went on vacation twice. The other thing that seemed off was the way the clerk spoke.
I'll let him know you stopped when he gets back.
Something about her voice was off. It didn't sound human. It sounded as though an AI was learning to speak but still had some hiccups. That right there put me on edge. It wasn't the first time I noticed it either. The last few months I've noticed people's voices sounding like that. Maybe I'm going crazy though. I hadn't been sleeping well and my insomnia had been catching up to me. Yeah, that's it. I'm just tired. I need some sleep.
Wake up.
I heard in my ears. I shot up from my bed, scanning around the room, only to find nothing like usual. That was the 4th time that I had heard it in the last month, and I was getting pretty annoyed. It was around 3:16 in the morning that I would wake up hearing something say that. I got up and searched my room like usual, looking for whatever spoke but could never find it. Then, because of that, I would be awake for the rest of the day. It pretty much just became a routine. I'll let you know if anything changes. It's November 2nd and the weather is getting pretty chilly outside. The last missing person was found today and is being questioned. The police department want me to come and speak to him. I guess being the only psychologist in town puts you on the spot. I'm heading there at noon to speak with him. As I was heading to the police station, random people kept watching me every second as I passed. It was as though these few had their eyes glued on me, waiting for something. Once I reached the station and got in, an officer greeted me right away.
This way.
He said, leading me into the interrogation room.
What's his name?
I asked.
Greg Farlick.
The officer replied, opening the door.
Also, no taking notes or bringing in any sharp objects, so hand them over now.
Confused, I handed the officer my belongings and entered the room.
Mr. Farlick, I heard you wished to speak with me?
The man sitting in front of me looked up from his hands, and I recognized who it was. It was the man who talked to me after the first screech was heard.
What are you doing here? You need to leave.
What do you mean? Why do I need to leave?
These people aren't who they say they are. You need to get out of here.
Entertaining the man, I asked.
And how do you get out of here?
Kill yourself.
Excuse me?
You need to kill yourself. Do it to escape. Otherwise, they'll keep you here. Feed off of you. Here, let me help.
With that, the man lunged at me, gripping his hands around my neck.
You'll see. You'll soon see.
He said as we fell down, his hands still choking the life out of me. In the matter of seconds, officers rushed in, pulling the man off me and screaming at me to leave. The last thing I heard as the door closed behind me was,
Burn them all.
I couldn't sleep at all that night after that. I kept hearing voices and skittering noises around the house. That guy had gotten into my head to make me think I was crazy. It was about 4 a.m. when I heard a knock on the door. It was Chris. I hadn't seen him in a month.
Where the fuck have you been?
I said, annoyed at him.
Vacation?
That's all you're gonna say. Vacation.
Chris just stared at me blankly, like I had said something that offended him.
What?
Can I come in?
He said, interrupting my next question.
Sure. Come on in.
I replied, opening the door more and motioning him inside.
What did he tell you?
He said sharply, walking into my kitchen.
What do you mean?
The man at the station. What did he tell you?
Something about this whole altercation seemed off. Chris seemed off. And the town seemed off. These last few months hadn't felt normal. A lot of townfolk didn't act like the way they used to. And it all sounded off. It was really starting to get to me. Chris began snapping at me while saying,
Tell me what he said.
Nothing. He just attacked me as soon as he saw me.
Fine, don't tell me the truth. I'll just have to get it out of you.
With that, Chris pulled out his baton and began marching towards me.
What the fuck are you doing?
I said right before getting hit in the head and falling to the ground. Flashes of things I don't remember are coming to the forefront of my mind. hearing the third screech, walking into the forest. An old abandoned house, skittering in the trees, something crawling down my throat. All that washed away though as the second baton hit me in the ribs. An audible crack was heard as Chris said once more,
Tell me what he saw.
He was cut off as I kicked his knee inward, causing him to collapse. I quickly got up and began running outside. As I entered my car, I saw Chris running towards me as if his backwards knee had never even happened. I slammed the car into reverse and sped out backwards, out of my driveway until it hit something, or something hit me. Stopping to assess the situation, I saw a couple of townsfolk who'd been running and slamming themselves in my car. One even grabbed on the top railing and began slamming her head multiple times into the passenger side window until it spidered.
What the fuck?
I screamed, and she began pushing her face into the window, causing the glass to cut away and peel off parts of her face.
I'm gonna get ya.
She said before I said, "Fuck this," kicked it into drive and sped off. I was heading for the town exit, which prompted me to go through our main street and cross a bridge. While at Main, I saw a building and car on fire, as well as 20 or 30 people all fighting and tearing each other apart. More of them ramming themselves into my car or in front of it, hoping to stop me.
What the fuck is going on?
I screamed as the man threw a brick at my car, shattering my windshield. I just need to get to the bridge. I kept saying that to myself to get me through the carnage. It was another minute or so when I was there, but boy was I in for a surprise. As I reached the middle of the bridge, cop lights appeared on the other side. They created a barricade. I decided to kick it into reverse, but as I looked into my rearview mirror, I saw Chris's cruiser, along with 20 bloodied up townspeople behind him.
Fuck. What do I do?
I said to myself, trying to think of a solution.
Come on, man. It's not that bad here. Come back into town and we can sort this all out.
I heard over the intercom. It was Chris's voice.
We can make you forget all this ever happened. Just come out with your hands up.
That was it. I lost. There was nothing I could do. I was trapped and wanted it to be all over.
Wake up.
I heard in my ear as I shot up from my bed, scanning around the room, only to find nothing, like usual. That was the 5th time that this has happened in the last month, and I was getting pretty annoyed. It was always 4:60 in the morning, and I would wake up hearing something say that. I got up and searched my room, like usual, looking for whatever spoke, but could never find it. Then, because of that, I would be awake for the rest of the day. It's pretty much just become my routine. Something was off, though. I looked at my clock again, 3:16. That's not right, it just said 4:16. With that, flashes of previous night came to mind. Chris hitting me, the lady peeling off her face in my window, and then waking up. It's not right. Nothing's right.
What is this place?
I said to myself before falling asleep again.
Wake up.
I heard in my ear as I shot up from my bed, scanning around the room, only to find nothing like usual. That was the 3rd time that this has happened in the last month, and I was getting pretty annoyed. It was always 2:60 in the morning, and I would wake up hearing something saying that. I got up and searched my room like usual, looking for whatever spoke, but could never find it. Then, because of that, I'd be awake for the rest of the day. It's pretty much just become my routine.
Wait, 2:16?
I said to myself, that's not normal. Previous night affairs began flashing in my head. Me heading to the woods, something crawling down my throat, Chris hitting me, bridge, death. As I stood up, I suddenly felt dizzy, almost falling onto the floor.
Stay awake.
I said to myself, pinching my neck to keep me awake.
Honey, come back to bed.
I heard call out from behind me.
I will in a minute, sweetie. Just going to the bathroom.
I called out of impulse. As I finished up in the bathroom, I looked in the mirror and saw handprints on my neck.
How did those get there?
I said as I stroked them.
Honey,
I heard from the doorway.
what are you doing?
Sorry, I was just checking.
As I looked back at the mirror, the marks were gone as if nothing had happened.
I'll be going to bed in a sec.
She giggled as she walked back towards the bedroom. Something wasn't right. I needed to figure out what was happening, but not after some rest. I awoke standing on the ledge of the bridge, cops on one side, bloody townspeople on the other, Chris's voice over the megaphone again.
Don't. You don't know what you're doing. You'll kill us all. Just step down and we can make you forget.
Contemplating for a second, I stepped back half a step, previous night flashing through my head.
That's it, man. It'll be okay.
No.
I said as I launched myself off the bridge. They say the first thing you think of when you jump is regret. Boy, is that right. Feeling myself fall faster and faster almost made me pass out until I awoke groggy in a dark room, barely able to comprehend what was going on. Skittering on the floor and a scratching noise happening. But as I focused more, I saw a tube pulsating in front of me, going up to something on the ceiling. Shitty thing is, that tube was also down my throat. Gagging, I slowly reached up and grabbed it. As soon as my hands touched it, I heard a little shriek that began to get louder and louder as I pulled the tube out. The thing must have been 5 feet long until it finally came plopping out. I still had one hand on it, and it lunged towards my mouth again. Little eyes and a mouth full of sharp tentacled teeth met me face to face. I squeezed harder and threw it onto the ground before stomping on it. Once I was done, I looked around and saw that I was in a basement full of people. At least 40, all either sitting or leaning against the wall, white tubes down their throat. Sadly, I can't say I went and saved all of them. I don't think I could have. The majority of them almost looked mummified. Some pretty much were. Skittering could be heard coming from the room across from me. Little creatures poured in through the doorway, making their way towards me. The screeching and squealing was almost unbearable. Looking around, trying to find a way out, I saw something that made my heart drop. It was Chris, although he looked a lot older than the last time I saw him. His beard was unkempt and his uniform was almost black from dust. My saving grace. Once I reached him, I began shaking him profusely, but to no avail.
I'm so fucked.
I said right before my eyes met his service pistol. I grabbed that and began shooting at the mass heading towards me. I hit a few, heard screeches, and the rest scurried their way out of the room.
You need to stop.
I heard coming from across the room. I turned to see an almost mummified man sitting on what appeared to be a throne, made of I don't even want to know what. As I looked around, I noticed that all the tubes led to one central mass, and that central mass had a tube leading to that thing.
You'll doom our whole species.
It spoke again.
Why should I care after what I just discovered?
You were not supposed to wake up. You were supposed to feed us for years to come. We only take when need be, but when others come looking, we like to feast.
What are you doing to these people?
Feeding.
Feeding of what?
Emotions. They are a delicacy. The only sad thing is that we have to virtually make husks of you. How about this? You leave and never look back. By the time you find civilization and get them to come back, we will be gone. You'll be deemed crazy, and I will be sure to find you again. Or You can bring me a replacement and help feed us until we are strong enough to take over, and you will be spared. The choice is yours.
I stood there thinking for a second before, almost out of instinct, raising the gun and shooting the beam multiple times. Screeches and rumbles could be heard all around. The bulbous in the center of the room shook as the creatures from earlier were coming back.
Wrong choice.
The bean said before it fell limp. I looked around eagerly to try and devise a plan, but nothing was coming up.
Burn them.
I heard Greg say in the back of my mind. I looked to Chris's service belt to see his flare gun. I grabbed that and pointed at the mass on the ceiling, firing the one shot it had into it. A deafening scream rang out, causing me to drop to the floor, holding my hands over my ears until passing out. I woke in a hospital bed covered in bandages and loud ringing in my ear.
Nurse, he's awake.
I heard a familiar voice say. Looking up, I saw the same malnourished Chris I saw in the basement looking at me.
Where am I?
I asked, staying up slowly.
Careful, man. Don't get up too fast. You've been out for a while.
I thought you were...
Dead? Nah. I awoke to that screeching and dragged your ass out before the whole building collapsed. What was that in there?
It said that it was feeding on us and that... Are there any more survivors?
Just us. Believe, I tried. But the building was so old that the flare you shot caused the place to light up like gas on a fire. I barely had time to pull that tube out and carry you out before it collapsed.
What about that man in there? The mummy-looking guy. Did you see him leave?
What mummy-looking guy?
Never mind. He must have stayed there.
You okay, man?
I don't know. I'm just glad to be out.
Yeah, same here.
I was having dinner with my father and his new wife when he suddenly went to the other room. His wife looked me dead in the eyes and quietly said, "I have no idea who that man is." And with that, our time together is coming to an end. As always, I would like to thank the writers who let me read their stories, as always. And our main story this evening, that ending truly makes you wonder, did he escape? Or is he still stuck in that horrifying simulation, being drained of his emotions as those creatures become stronger? Well, I guess we'll just have to speculate, unless the writer would be ever so kind to continue that story. Only time will tell. Main character was played by Grim Reaper's Nightmare. Greg was played by Limited Stories. The police officer named Chris was Clownable. The police clerk and the other female voices were Decay from Dark Little Voices. The other unnamed police officer was played by Stories Told by Beaky. And the creature was played by Phoenix Fire. If you'd be ever so kind to check out the other narrators, of course, after this video is done, all their links are down below. Tell them 242 sent ya. Now, if you enjoyed these stories and the video, hit the like button and make sure it feels it. If you're new, subscribe and turn that pretty little bell to all notifications. If you'd like to help this channel / podcast, please just share it with anyone who might enjoy it. If you'd like to help in other ways, I do have Patreon and memberships where for just $1 a month you get early access to all this audio and a bonus story every single week. I also have merch and PayPal. All the links are down below. But last, but never least, I would love a comment. But let me get you that Sunday word first. On screen right now is everyone who wrote me a comment down below using the word kick from last week. Thank you guys as always. I sure get a real kick out of reading your comments. Now, let's move on to this Sunday's word, which, if you've been paying attention, you sure have an advantage over others, because the word is advantage. So write me a sentence down below using this word and you'll be in next week's video/photo. If you're on the podcast, you can at 242 reads, use this word, and you'll also be in next week's photo. But as always guys, thank you for watching and listening. It really means a lot to me. Sleep tight and don't let 42 bite.